Yo,
What's up, man?
nice shirts.
Right? I know, representing. This is like, do you know when this is from? This must have been like 18 or 17. This is pretty old school.
Yeah, because we changed them and we like changed the logo in the shirt, so that way we always know when someone got it. So yeah, that's an old one.
Yeah, like I said, honestly, I don't think I've ever bought a piece of clothing from a bodybuilder except for maybe like at the Arnold. I bought some shit from Jose and he signed it. This is the only thing I've ever gone online and bought years ago. So
That's
that's,
sick, man. I love it. I should turn this
yeah,
sideways, yeah?
yeah,
Is
appreciate
that
it.
better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I sound okay? Like I said, this is,
No, yeah. Am I okay?
yeah, you're perfect. All right, cool. Well, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. I don't really like have a name for this shit or anything. Right. This is going to be like a kind of a series I'm trying to do. Just, I feel like a lot of the bodybuilders around the world don't get enough love and like one-on-ones. So I'm going to try to get a couple of you guys on and see if we can get you known a little bit. Um, so you're in Spain right now, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
How's that going?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good actually. It's very similar to where I lived in San Diego, so it's kind of like the same lifestyle, very chill, good
But not
weather.
America.
But also yeah, European uh ways.
Is it the same as like Italy and stuff where everything just takes forever and you're not going to really have a timeline to
Yeah.
get anything as far as like food or
Yeah, that's probably it's the one and only downside to this place. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. It's that they run on a different I don't know, speed, I guess.
Yeah, I remember. I know I've never been to Spain, but I've been to Europe and I was in Italy, and it's like I remember trying to go out. Okay, they open at 11 o'clock for lunch. Let's go there. Get there like at 12:30. They're then at the tables. One dude smoking a cigarette. I'm like, man, I'm hungry. You gotta bring all your stuff with you.
And yeah, and if you say something, then it's like something's wrong with you.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So you were
Mhm.
in San Diego. Before that, so after San Diego, you were in Dubai, and that was a shit show. But from San Diego, you were working out at the gym, right?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
probably the best gym in the West Coast, really. There's a
Yeah, I wanted to
couple. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that actually. I think it's a fucking amazing gym.
Yeah, I actually moved down there for it. I mean, obviously San Diego doesn't suck itself, but I was in LA at the Golds. And it was good for me because I got there right at the end before everyone left.
There was road
Obviously
in.
obviously after COVID it's been shit, but even before COVID it was starting to be kind of shitty too.
Oh yeah. It,
People were just blaming it on COVID, but nobody wants to say that nobody was even training there, any pros anyway, I should say.
yeah. Yeah. I actually used to work for Golds and I'm in Newport Beach right now, so I'm right up from where you were. So I was real familiar with that business. I went in there all the time and you could kind of see the culture change, and bringing in like the rigs and stuff and everything kind of just becoming more corporate. But I love the gym in San Diego. I think that is have you been there since they got the top floor, the rooftop and everything?
Yeah, they opened that for COVID.
Yeah, exactly. So to me,
Yeah.
I've been to pretty much all the best gyms in America. I haven't been to the Red Ponds. I'd like to check those out. But Bev's and Destination, all the ones in Vegas and Venice. But to me, that the gym is probably my favorite gym I've been to. Do you think there's something comparable? What else would you say is on a level in the state?
If I move back, or when I move back, I'll probably move back to Vegas for at least a year because those gyms there are starting to become
They're
that
slick,
torture gym is definitely
slick.
looking ridiculous. I trained at Flex's gym, and there's a ton of
Dragon
great
Sweat
equipment.
blows, man. It blows.
I'm trying to say it in a different way.
Arsenal blows. I love Flex. I love Flex, but he knows.
Yeah,
It
that's the
wouldn't.
problem is that everybody there is really great. Uh Jason that runs the gym is great. Flex is obviously great. They have a good community, but I just don't like Arsenal equipment. I
Well, and then
just
they've got like Matrix. They've got like two prime pieces. Like I'm not. I love Flex. He's like the nicest guy in the industry, but that gym blows. Hide and Irish's gym is awesome, but they're kind of like militant about it. But that's a really
Yeah,
good
that's what I
gym.
was gonna say. A lot of people left to go there because really until this torture gym opened up, it probably was actually the best gym in Vegas,
I
including
would I
the
would still say
old.
it's the best.
Yeah, it's really good, but yeah, so sad that that's the same thing everybody says is that Iris is just so unpleasant. You would almost rather work out in a worse gym, which is insane.
Have you worked out there recently?
No, I haven't gone, but I know Iris wouldn't be like that to me. Um, that's probably one thing that I definitely take for granted is that certain people I know are dicks. They really are. Have never been dicks to me because automatically people just like they want to give a certain amount of respect to my dad. The older
Yeah,
greats, anyone past them, they could give a
yeah,
shit. So which is fine to me. I think you should treat everybody off of how they are anyway. But for me, with the because people always gonna ask me all the time, like, what do you think about Lee Haney or like always these older people? And I always want to be truthful with them. There's no way I'm gonna have. I only had a bad experience with Lou Ferrigno because when I was younger, I always wanted to go to everyone's booth. I mean, I was going to the shows by myself anyway, but I never wanted to like introduce myself as my dad, son. I didn't
yeah.
even want to introduce my own name. I just want to one see how they are myself, but also I just want to get a normal interaction because I'm just a regular fan. So lose was pretty bad, but other than that, no one's ever treated me bad. Every time I see Iris, she's so kind to me. Um, but I have a really good friend that lives in Vegas, and his opinion is something that I definitely would trust. And he said that, yeah, just having your like old grandmother running after you, yelling at you, just kind of fucks up your whole workout. And unfortunately, it's ruining their business. And I feel so bad for Hide, which is their
He's
their
so
whole
nice.
dynamic is their whole dynamic is so crazy. If you would have told me years ago that Hide was going to end up when you're watching Generation Iron,
The first one,
yeah, the first one, you no way you're gonna told me that this guy is having sex with Iris. It would have been like there's no way. So it's so crazy that their dynamic. He's like the nicest person you've ever met with the probably most hostile person you could meet. So I guess that's how it works, right? I guess that's how relationships work. But I feel bad for him because I know there's people that really like him and they want to be there, and she's just unbearable.
yeah, like I think like every 5 minutes they'll cut the music and they have like a recording play, like clean your shit up, make sure not to leave shit around.
Oh
They're
my
really,
god.
really adamant about
But
that.
yeah, the gym is really different. Obviously, we pick gyms off of equipment, right? That's what we majorly go there for is for the equipment. But the gym is really different because I don't know if it's because the owner was, a kind of like a bodybuilder himself, so maybe he's a little bit understanding. You would think, obviously, Iris would understand, but sometimes the guys actually that are the best lifters are not the actual Mr. Olympias. Like as in like best lifters, as in like they understand what people are going through. Like the gym, they don't charge to train clients. That alone is so insane. You could literally have each trainer in that gym pay you $10 a month, and you would make thousands because that place is
Yeah,
full of
like
trainers
eighteen
training their
hundred a month
clients.
where I'm at. Pay 1800 a month to
Of
train out of my
course. I
gym.
mean, it's kind of crazy not to charge,
Yeah,
but I think that's their thing is that you go there, you feel so good. There's no one who's a dick. I mean, obviously, every gym's got a couple, but it's just a different vibe there. And they're always putting in new equipment while also still spending the money to fix the old equipment. And that's something people won't understand unless you try and do a gym yourself. The reason why there is just Arsenal and all these like name brands that are full stocked in the gym is because to fix them are not that expensive. And that's what
exactly.
it comes down to is that me and you are not going to break the machine. But the other, 70 people that are using the machine, they're absolutely going to break it. So am I going to make something for me and you really nice while they're going to ruin it? I'm probably just going to pick something that the maintenance is cheap. I can send it off, get fixed, and come back. So the gym is really rare to have old stuff and new stuff. So I love it.
Would you say there's another one comparable to it? Like, what would you say is on its level?
Um,
Maybe
I
overseas too.
it's not yeah, overseas, yeah, there's definitely a bunch of gyms that I've seen because that's what they do. These people in other countries that are just diehard bodybuilding fans, they'll travel to the UK. Like I was even when I was in Dubai, I actually left this billion-dollar gym that I was training at to go to a smaller one that was called the Dungeon. And that guy just literally went to the UK because he liked this hack machine. He went to this other country and pulled this pullover machine. And it would be like me and you just having, kind of like a Toys R Us of going in the world and picking the best stuff. And that's kind of more my vibe. But in the States, it's not the same as the gym, but the other gym that I don't think you named is MI40
Yeah.
is another level.
Florida?
It's
It's Florida, right?
yeah, Tampa, yeah.
You hear about what's this Dorian opened the gym with Dom, right? They're gonna open that one. I think Bumstead's involved, Port St.
Yeah,
Lucia.
yeah, yeah.
That'll be
That's gonna be
sick.
sick for
That'll be
sure.
sick.
I already want to go to Canada. It's probably the only reason I want to go to Canada
For Pure, it's
is
all the
just
Atlantis,
yeah.
right? So I was gonna bring this up later, but since we're already talking about it, I really want to maybe geek out on some equipment a little bit, real fast.
Hmm.
I just built out a 3,200 square foot gym, which is private, and had no like limit on what I could buy. So I got all the best prime Atlantis, and that's another thing you're talking about. Like all the best prime stuff is uses the belt, right? You don't want to use a lot of the belt and the big gyms wear and tear. So for me, I love the new tech. I really like new tech and Panada, the rowing movements, especially
Hmm.
Atlantis and Prime. Those are kind of like my top four brands that I'm really a fan of. There's other ones I like. What do you think compares to those? Do you say you agree those would be in the best, or what else do you like?
Yeah, and actually because of Dennis Wolf, I started noticing it's always been around, but I think because of him, I just noticed it a little bit more. Is Gym 80 has a couple of those machines where you look at it and it just looks basic. But when you use it, it's actually forcing you to do form that's the correct way. And thank God they actually have a gym here. It's called Oxygen actually, but it's not the same Oxygen. It's not related. And they have this like separate section where it's just a Gym 80 section, and
That's
it's
the equipment
probably
line.
yeah,
That's
Gym 80. Uh-huh.
I'll write that down real
Hmm.
quick. Okay.
And it's probably one of the best row machines I've used, horizontal row machines I've ever used, because the handles as you row, they start to tilt down. So it just drives you
Uh,
down to get those lower lats. So
Gotcha.
even if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to force you to do good form. And then if you do, doing kind of one arm, it's just the most isolation I've felt. So once a week, I actually just drive for that one machine itself. And then I think I'm going to go maybe try and team up with them in FIBO because I'm going to be out there. But they are just a really great people. They're the ones who make the gold dumbbell that's at Gold's Gym,
Is that
the
like super
300
heavy?
pound.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I never heard
yeah,
of
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Have you seen this?
Hmm.
Um, have you seen this Max Pump Sport? This brand that's coming out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's new too. Yeah. Hmm.
What do you think about that squat machine? You know the one I'm talking about? The
Yeah, I
3D
just haven't
squats.
used it. See, the problem with me is, and that's the problem I have with Arsenal, is some machines are not some. Most machines are made for the general size lifter, which is not anyone above 5'11", 6 foot. And it just is what it is. So some machines people will swear by, and then I'll get on it, and I'm like, man, I'm just using ligaments. Like I don't even feel the muscle at all. So really, until I use it myself, like at an expo or in the gym itself, I have no idea.
Yeah, that looks pretty slick. The way you got the 3D Smith machine, you can use the Hatfield handles. What is your favorite hack squat? Because I'm trying to pick out a hack squat right now. I have the
Oh,
Atlantis, the newer Atlantis one that has all the crazy stuff. That's pretty cool, but I don't like that it's 30 degrees. I'd rather get a little steeper one. What do you have?
the flex equipment is some of the best
Yeah,
leg equipment. They just don't make it anymore, I don't think.
yeah.
And that's even what Dorian put in his gym here at this M13 that I train at. So like the leg curl, the Lang leg curl is so smooth. And that's one of my favorites. And the hack squat that they have, um, it's probably one of the best I've ever used.
Yeah, I've seen you. That's the one you've been using with Dorian right now.
Yeah,
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 that looks
it's good and bad because it's good because it's good on the joints and it's good angle, but it's horrible for the ego because it's super fucking heavy and you go from like 6 7 plates to just using 4 or 5 and you feel pathetic, but it's the point, right?
are you a fan of pendulum squats?
I haven't found there was a Panada pendulum in Dubai that I used, but I could still only do like 2 plates on each side. Any other one, I feel like I'm doing the Frank Zane sissy squat thing
The
that
leg
he used to
blaster.
wear.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I feel like I'm doing. I feel like I'm touching my knees to the platform, and it just doesn't work for my body.
that's funny. I actually, speaking of Frank Zane, I met with him a couple years ago. We spent a few hours together, and I asked him that question about Lou Ferrigno. I always heard he was such a dick too. I asked about that. He's like, yeah, he's a dick, but he goes, you know who's a bigger dick? R.I.P. He said Franco. He said him and Franco had mad beef. But uh,
Interesting. I know a lot of people hated on Frank, including my dad, because he's the complete polar opposite of all of them. So here's this guy. My dad. I think Frank Zane beat my dad like in one of those like smaller shows when they were
yeah,
younger, but otherwise he never beat my dad. But you have this guy who's beating all these people who weighs, it's so crazy. Frank Zane won the Olympia at what I did my first competition at. It's so nuts. 176 is so insane
Right.
to be a Mr. Olympia. So sometimes people were just kind of like bothered by him. But something people don't know is I know my dad stole some stuff from Frank Zane, some of his like fish dieting ideas. My mom told me
Yeah.
when I was older, because he would always like Frank Zane shit is what he referred to it as. So I know there's probably a lot of people, and I can totally see why Franco and him definitely didn't get along because
He
he's a
was.
power lifter, at heart, Franco, all about how much you can lift. And then here's the, aesthetic. What was his nickname? What was?
Well, he was the chemist. You're talking about Frank Zane?
Oh, yeah. The chemist, right.
And I think that was a lot to do with his. I think he was one of the first guys to really fuck with thyroid. I think he had been messing around with
Yeah.
thyroid.
No, he's a
Um,
genius.
oh yeah, super cool guy. I had my ex-wife bought me like an hour and a half posing session with him, and I think he just appreciated that I appreciated the history, and he sat there with me for like 4 hours. We just went through all kinds of shit. It was really cool. He helped me with my posing
I know.
routine.
I can't believe that I lived in San Diego and I never met up with him once. It's
Yeah,
definitely
that's
something I
tragic.
regret.
That is
I'm
tragic.
horrible. I'm horrible. Yeah.
So, okay, well, let's get into a couple bodybuilding things, I guess. So you're out there with Dorian training. Now, are you, I mean, I'm assuming so you've got Neil Hill as your coach, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, assuming him and Dorian are on the same page with everything as far as your training, right?
Man, it's probably been the best part about it because I've already had a situation when obviously I was with Aceto my whole life. And when I was training with, let's just say somebody else who's also a very famous trainer slash dietitian, I made it clear to him that Aceto was doing my diet, and I did not want to have any because even if he tells me something and I don't do it, it's still in my head, So sometimes, especially when a bodybuilder's dieting, just don't even try and like change things. So I just made it clear with him from the beginning, and then it became a thing. We kept trying to change shit, and it ended up not working. So when I came out here, and now I know I have this opportunity to come out here, but I also know I just switched coaches. I switched coaches before I decided to move out here. I don't think I would have. I don't think I would have not went with Neil if I came here first with Dorian, because I think Dorian was more than happy to prep me as well. I think deep down he wants to. I think there's a lot of these older bodybuilders that are watching guys today, and of course they have their opinions, right? They just are like grinding their teeth at how much the sport's changed away from what they've looked like. If you agree it's better or not, it doesn't matter. I know that he's probably been having this itch, like, man, even if I could just get back up there, how would it be? So being able to take someone under your wing and do it for them would be the closest you can get to it, obviously, for a past champion like that. So I think he would prep me if I would have asked him. But either way, my point is coming out here, I knew that I already had signed up with Neil. We had already started. And then I was going to start with Dorian. And I didn't want to have this issue. And I'll tell you something about Mr. Olympias. You cannot tell them anything. Like growing up with one, I'll tell you and you know what? Maybe you can't. And it's just an argument that you can have for forever, but they're always going to believe what they believe. And even though the times have changed, you can't really tell them they're wrong. So I just was stressing about, is this going to be a thing? But no, man, it's so crazy. They talk to each other, they talk on the phone, they make plans for me. I'm really so blessed. And this is something that I know no one's ever trained with him before. He did a little bit of training with that. You remember King Khan, the guy in the
Yeah,
UK?
yeah, Zach Khan. I
Yeah,
remember going up there.
mhm.
Cormier was
They did
supposed
some,
to, right?
yeah. There was something, right?
Hmm.
So there was, he trained him, but that's it. Otherwise, I'm the only pro that he's ever trained. And we both know it's not because he can't, it's just
Yeah.
because he obviously couldn't stand anybody before. So that just personally, it's already made me feel so confident and feels good about myself that this guy wants to do these things. But going out of his way to now, this is the Mr. Olympia. He's calling some other person's coach. I'm sure he knows Neil, but he's not like friends with Neil. and they're making a plan. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm leaving to Brazil. Let's put him on this plan. Then when we get back, we'll start the prep and we're going to do this show. And I'm just kind of like standing there like, man, I'm just so grateful for this. And it's actually helping me too, because I've been with the same coach my whole life, right? So you somewhat know what your coach is going to do at the end. No matter what, it's a human thing to start to predict and try and not change things, but you kind of, get ahead of yourself. You know this is coming, so you're going to do this. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea what Neil's protocol is for a show. I have no clue what Dorian is going to be doing with training going into the show. So me not having kind of any control has actually allowed me to relax a lot. And that's probably my biggest problem, is that I'll be looking ridiculous going into the show, and then it's just so much pressure, and I'm just so stressed that I end up ruining it for myself, and I end up flattening out, looking like shit. And then here's the Cito trying to counter my own, problems. And sometimes it works, and then sometimes it's a mess. And now that I have no control, I think it's going to be a lot easier.
I think it was kind of like the Cedric effect, similar to what he had going on.
Because I knew Cedric let the sport itself get to him. And it's just something that you can't really explain to people until you are not only a pro, but you're trying to compete for the Olympia, that there's more things in bodybuilding that include more than just dieting harder, working harder, that whole like hard work outbeats genetics, but genetics and hard work wins every time. Yeah, but also you also have to know that you could look the best you ever have in your life, and you might get screwed. It's not a thing on purpose. People keep being like, oh, it's politics, and like it's not that. It's just you're judged by humans, and sometimes there's human error. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes people get lost in the shuffle, and then what also happens too is you can show someone a certain type of condition or certain type of size or fullness. And unless you reach that, again, plus bettering yourself, it's always going to be less. And for like people that are listening, it's really hard to understand. Like so an example I can give is that when Kai Green, when he beat Phil Heath at the Arnold Classic, it was still to this day the best Kai Green we've ever seen, ever. And then
Did you
now
have him
he wants
winning? You had him winning that?
just because I believe the rule is that if the guy on that day looks the best he ever has in his life, and it's close, and the guy he's going against doesn't look the best he ever has in his life, you have to reward that guy.
Is that the one that people
I
say Phil sometimes?
No, I'm saying at the Arnold.
Which you
I
talking about when he went against Cedric?
No, when Kai beat Phil.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the one people say Phil could have won, right?
He could have, yeah.
Okay, okay.
But it's still the best Kai Green we've ever seen in our life. We ended up getting a better Phil Heath later on.
You
That
don't
wasn't
think
the best
Kai
Phil
ever got
Heath.
better?
He didn't get more condition. No way.
No, definitely
No.
not. Uh,
That's probably one of the most, besides like the guys back in the day, just like getting their water from apples and shit type of dieting. That's the most crazy condition I've ever seen anybody
he had a couple
before.
times where he hit that when he was a little smaller, and it was just he never
Yeah.
got again with that size.
But he made our eyes adjust to this, like it almost hurt your eyes how shredded he was, his crispness. So when he came to the Olympia that same year, and he was way bigger, he was so huge,
He looked bad.
it didn't have, yeah, it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
So that happens sometimes in the sport too. And I think Cedric, sometimes it was just too much, worrying about this and that. And then also Cedric is probably one of the only people who had a full-blown life outside of bodybuilding. And he's never gonna care. I think after he won the Arnold, he's never going to care more about bodybuilding than he was his kids or his duties in the military, and all the stuff that he's doing, making a church and building a school. Like he didn't post ever, but when he did, he's doing like hard ass work. Like, please just pay someone to do this.
Right.
He's like drudging the dirt and shit.
Yeah, he
He
was
was
one of a
just
kind.
he was. So I think that's all it was. I think he got that once he got that Arnold, and he got that, I didn't get the same thing, but once you kind of get that like nod from Arnold, man, it's cool, man. It's very rewarding to have someone like him come on stage and talk to you and say like, you amazed me, and then now you have to jump through all these hoops and do this to win the Olympia and stuff like that. I think he was just like, whatever.
Is that your ultimate goal to get an Arnold, or do you want to try to get an Olympia? What is your highlight? Would you like to see at the end of your career?
I know every time I answer this question, people just want to take it into where, well, that's why you're not gonna win. Like you cannot be a real, like I'm born in this sport. How many Mr. Olympias I've seen didn't win the Olympia? So to come in and be like, I'm gonna win the Olympia for sure, you for sure have to have a little bit of ignorance. It's kind of like a little bit ignorance is bliss type of
Unless you're
mentality.
Phil,
Yeah,
unless you're
unless you're
Phil.
right. Exactly. And he's the only reason why we now have this like, oh, you haven't won it yet. Like once Nick Walker came around, he like just solidified that you can win your pro card, uh qualify for the Olympia and be in the first call out all within the same year. But before Phil, that's not a thing, like obviously Kevin Levrone and that whole era, it's just
That doesn't
it
count. They
it
were
doesn't
pro level.
it
They were Olympia levels when they turned pro.
and the nationals was so
Yeah.
hard, exactly. And it's I wish really all these Instagram accounts were ran by people like you, so they really could educate these kids so they can understand, because making someone feel like shit that they took their whole life to win the Olympia, when every single fucking person took their whole life. Yes, Babe Ruth had X amount of home runs by 20 years old. Yes, Lee Haney won 8 Sandows and retired by the time I won my pro card. Yes, if you go back, you can always find someone who did something very fast. But the majority, it takes you your whole life to be able to, fill out your body, unless you're short. I mean, look at Derek. Like Derek, he he hit like a little bit of stumble before he won the 212, people telling him he's never going to win the 212. But once he switched coaches, he got it. But the amount of weight that he gained and the difference, it's not that much. It's not that crazy. I think he's going to keep gaining. Obviously, now that he's not in 212 anymore, he had a whole year. I can't imagine what he's going to look like. But I would have to weigh. I would have to be like Ronnie, 290 something on stage. No matter what, that takes forever to fill out. And so either way, to answer your question, for me to be like, I'm gonna win the Olympia, you have to be insane. I want to win the Olympia, of course. But my more realistic goal is to win the Arnold. When I was growing up watching the sport, I didn't want to look like Ronnie. I wanted to look like the guys who were winning the Arnold. And that was always my
You're
favorite
fucking
show.
huge, Sergio. What the fuck are you talking? How much do you weigh right now?
Uh, I think just under 310, because we just started cleaning up the diet a
Yeah,
little
and you're
bit.
lean. You're like one of the biggest pros. What do you mean? So,
Yeah, but bro, I lost now to almost 212 guys.
but that, I mean, so if we think about your 2020 Arnold, that conditioning, right? With whatever size you got now, you're in there. I don't think you lose to, Tonio or Regan or any of these guys.
No, there's no way. I know. I wish I could do that again. And it's so crazy. I mean, I guess Cormier was living with me. That's definitely one thing that I did have at that prep. He had moved in. He was training me in San Diego. And look, Cormier is not like he's not the kind of guy that's going to be like on somebody to keep them strict when he wasn't even strict when he was dieting. But but no matter what, if you get helped an extra 15-20% in each workout times X amount of months, that has to translate to not only a type of muscle, but also calories burned. And I think that's what really helped me, is that something I'm never going to get credit for in my life unless I win 20 Olympias, is that I train really well. It's very important to me, my training. You've never seen anyone, his form is shit, whatever it is. And I'm very avid about training and form and stuff like that.
I actually am just using you for a video I'm doing critiquing somebody's shitty form, saying you should do it like this, where you and Dorian doing good pullovers. Actually,
Oh,
yeah.
thanks. So it's never gonna be that I gained. I don't. Well, 176 was my first show, and the last one we just did was 285. So let's say, right, I was like definitely not fully shredded. Let's say if I lost 10 pounds, still that's over 100 pounds of actual muscle that I've gained. And no one's ever going to be like, oh, well, he did that because he learned his body, learned this and nutrition. He kills himself. He gave up his 20s and his 30s and didn't party once. It's going to be because I gained that because of my dad and the genetics, and that's how genetics works.
You
So
never really had any injuries, right? Have you had any major injuries at all?
I know, knock on wood, that's the craziest thing. The only time I've been injured is outside of the gym, doing things that I shouldn't be doing. My high school buddies want to play football and fucking destroyed my shoulder, thought my
That's
career
how it
was
always
done.
goes.
Oh my God, so stupid. I should be injured though. There's so many times that I was guest posing in Australia one time and I thought I'm gonna do a cartwheel off the stage. Like that's gonna be because I used to do it when I was like in high school, like
100 pounds less.
yeah. Well, in high school I was like under 100. I remember I graduated like just over 100. I remember when I moved my shirt was a large. I was like, I'm fucking big. I'm not a medium anymore. I wear a large. So that's the size I was. So it's like 150 pounds. But yeah, so I did that, like completely shattered my heel like an idiot. I couldn't squat, but luckily that was when
When
my
was that?
legs right before I won my pro card. I was an amateur. Yeah, I went out to Australia. And luckily then my legs were so much bigger than my upper body that I probably could have taken off, which is what I did. I took off like a month of training legs and I still won nationals that year. It's just funny to come full circle now. My legs are smaller and now that's something that I need to bring up. So that just shows bodybuilding, you're always having to change shit, I swear.
So are you getting ready to dial up for a prep?
Yeah, I'm gonna start cleaning it up now. I think it'd be stupid to be out here and not do one of these shows that are
One of these
just
European, like you can do Spain, Italy, what is the other one? Portugal, right?
yeah, exactly. So there's like three that are right here. Honestly, I can't say between me and you because it's on the show, but
There
I'd
won't be
really
many
like to
people
hop
watching this. Don't worry.
I'd really like to hop in the Spain show that's here in June against Krizo.
That's exactly what I'm
Um,
thinking. I would love to see you and Krizo next to each other. That's what I wanted to ask you about. Both big guys. I think that would be a really good battle.
yeah, his legs are just stupid. And I was funny, I was watching the Olympia with Rolly. He was sitting next to me, and I was even telling him he didn't know much about Krizo. And I was like, this guy, after you left, has the best arms in bodybuilding. This dude is nuts. But I think his
He looks weird a little bit
negative,
though. Like
he's what?
it just isn't the most put together right. But he's got
Yeah,
crazy
I know.
parts.
It's weird, right? And I guess it's just that's how bodybuilding is sometimes because if you take his legs, I want him. His arms, I'll take him. He's actually was so shredded from the back at the Olympia. I thought he got kind of screwed and they could have
I
put
did
him
too.
above Hunter
Hunter.
and Andrew. He came back at the night show a little off, I think, because after they leave you on the outside at prejudging, it's so hard to understand that you could still move up. And someone who's just now in the IFBB for what, how many years now? Two? He's probably after the prejudging got upset, probably didn't dry out a little bit more like everybody else. But otherwise, if he would have came back like he did at prejudging, because people don't watch prejudging, they only watch the night show. So I think if he would have came back at the night show, he would have been in the top five. But I think if I could beat him, it's not just going to the Olympia for me. I really want to go to the Olympia and place, like that's the whole point. So if I beat him in the bodybuilding math, that we do, it puts me right in the top six right there.
Yeah, I mean,
So
really, that's where I see you falling. That top five is that first call out would be amazing. Is Andrew Jack taking the whole year off, or is he gonna try to compete at the Olympia? Do you know?
I think he might hop in that Dubai show.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because for me, I see the top five. If Andrew, I don't think Andrew was his best at the Olympia at all, right? I think him at his best, he goes past Brandon, and I see that top five, Nick, and then the top three, and Andrew rounding it out. And I think that's a really solid top five that people are going to be trying to fight to get into. And I see like you and Hunter and Krizo and Brandon, all you guys like right there on that edge, getting that first call out potentially for the Olympia. That would be
Yeah, I
awesome.
was I was telling Hunter too that if I don't make it happen where me and him are battling on the Olympia stage together, then
What the
I'm
hell?
just the biggest failure ever. Because for us to have not only one child of a great, but two competing at the same time, like look, I don't think there's ever going to be another child of a Mr. Olympia again. We might have
Well,
other
maybe way down the road.
hunters. I just think that you make so much money from the Olympia now that
Mm.
you have to be you have to be a fucking weirdo to do bodybuilding, and then you also have to be a little broke because there's no way. Hunter's the only exception. I think Hunter's the only person who came from money, had money growing up, and still decided to not take his degree. You know, people don't want to give him credit, but he's really a real bodybuilder because he has a college degree. He could be doing his own business. He could be just running Labrada and making so much money, but he really loves bodybuilding so much that he wants to go home and to the gym every day doing nothing because that's what we do. And besides him, not many people come from money. And you look at all the Mr. Olympias, they had this thing in them where they had to do this to save their life. They had to do this to save their family. We all get into it because we love bodybuilding, but what keeps you doing it is because you have this like you don't have a safety net, you don't have a plan B because there's no way to have a plan B and be a professional bodybuilder. It's plan A the whole way through. Because the people who have plan Bs are the ones that we don't see anymore. Like these guys like I remember I met Chris Cook. People who are watching this probably have no idea who he was. He was supposed to be the next Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
And this guy looked incredible. He looked so insane, but he also had a like 9 to 5 job. And then once you start having kids, it starts to turn into, do I gamble this family on this competition? And if I lose, they're fucked. Or do I just take the smart road and start on plan B? And that's what I'm saying. You can't even have a plan B because a sensible person will take it. You just because you are 2% body fat, weigh X amount, doesn't mean that you're going to be Mr. Olympia. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to make a living from this. So either way, I think now all the Mr. Olympias, you make so much money just from the Olympia alone. You make so much from sponsors that to have a kid that's going to grow up with money and never having to worry about that, I think they're not going to have that like even me like I grew up with no, my dad didn't have a lot of money, but my dad didn't want me to bodybuild. I still had this thing in me that was telling even a Mr. Olympia to go fuck yourself. I'm gonna do this with or without you. And if you really had so much like, everything's taken care of, I don't think you're gonna want to go to the gym 5, 6 days a week.
So you had just posted, because I knew your dad wasn't super supportive. You had just posted something on your stories, right, where your dad was helping you with the victory pose. Was that like later in your career, or was that just like a one-time picture thing, or
It's
what was that?
literally the one and only time I was in the gym with my dad.
Okay.
It's the craziest thing I know, and it took Muscle and Fitness to get us to go into the gym together. So that photo shoot, I had already moved to Florida. I already left Chicago because my dad was calling gyms, not letting me join. Now that I'm older, I absolutely understand. He's a foreigner. He escaped from a country. He went through so much.
I mean, and
And
he didn't make
Cubans,
money bodybuilding, right? Like, not really,
it's
did he?
nothing. My dad,
Yeah.
my dad died broke. He
Yeah.
died broke, and the only reason he even had money to support us is because he worked the police department. Nonstop. He even worked past the years where you're supposed to retire for your pension. He just kept working because he needed the money. So either way, now I'm like, you know what? The girl that I was with, she's like, your dad's stubborn. You gotta go 75, and he goes 25. So why don't you tell him about the photo shoot, ask him to go? Because I was like, he's not gonna want to do it. And then, and then he did. He wanted to go, and it's like my favorite story, and it's the worst story because it's actually Fuad Abiad's wife doing the photo shoot because she used to
Oh,
work for
wow.
the magazine. I met her before him.
Summer. Yeah.
And yeah, Summer, yeah, exactly. And he was horrible. He was such a diva. It was so embarrassing. And they're like, one, I already know this is so fake. You never helped me in the gym, you know. And now they're like telling him like I'm curling, and he's like spotting me. He's grabbing the bar, and they're like, "Well, can you just like, barely touch it, just like you're barely helping." And he's like, "Okay, okay." Then he grabs it, and then they come back in. They're like, no, no, no. We just want you to just barely touch it. And then after he does that twice, he like yells at them, and he's like, I know what I'm doing. Like, is this my life? And so either way, they're just being so kind to him, so patient. Like he's just like some senile old man because he's just losing it and getting so mad. And so now it's done. And the whole plan is that we were supposed to train at the gym, and then we're going to go back to the house that I grew up in. They wanted to film my room and just my neighborhood and stuff like that. So I told my dad about this months before. So now he's at the gym and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go back to the house and I'm gonna clean up a little bit before they go back." I'm already thinking like, "You're gonna clean up now, 20 minutes before we're gonna be there? Like, please tell me how important this is to you."
Want it authentic.
And he leaves, and then now Summer's like, "Okay, can you call your dad and let him know we're on our way? Because we just want to make sure." And now, and this is what really crushed me, is because now I'm sticking up for my dad, and I'm like, "Hey, look, if he says that he's going to do something, then he's going to do it. We don't have to keep checking on him." And she's like, "Yeah, we just want to make sure before we bring all the equipment over there and stuff like that." And I remember being like with attitude, like, "Fine, okay, like, okay, I'll call him." It must have been like a movie where they're watching my face go from like annoyed that they're asking me to ask him to me obviously hearing my dad say he doesn't want to do it. And now I'm so disappointed and I'm so embarrassed. And again, I'm just reminded because this is who he is. He he doesn't care about my bodybuilding career. And Arnold's speech when I did the Arnold, "If your dad was here, he would be so proud." Everybody wants to tell me how proud he would be. But people don't know that I was competing for years, years. I did junior nationals in Chicago so many times. I was right there in his backyard. You don't even have to travel. And he didn't go. And he never helped me in the gym. So I know people need that sometimes to make themselves feel good, make a story out of it. Sometimes we don't want to hear, like even Arnold. Arnold's all of our heroes. You hear a couple of kind of the stuff that he did, before there was social media. It's rough to swallow because it's this the guy you look up to. So I just let people believe whatever they want. This guy is he's proud and he's this and he's looking down from heaven. Then if that's what you believe, then great. But otherwise, no. In my lifetime, he couldn't have tried harder to stop me from doing this. And then even when we did do something together, that Graham Charles and his son, Arnold and his son, and Hunter and LeBron are the only father and sons to ever do a fucking magazine together. And it's a horrible memory of mine. So it was good for me because it reminded me this whole thing that we have as humans is family is family. Look, sometimes you can have people that actually just make you not a good person. And sometimes when I was in Chicago, I was so unhappy that I started being a nasty person to people that I love. And sometimes it's better to just get yourself away from toxic people. And when you tell people that a toxic person is a three-time Mr. Olympia, it's like they can't even understand that. And that's just unfortunately what it is. So that photo shoot someone sent me, I just reposted it. But that's the side story of it. Is that's the one and only time that my dad
I
ran
was
the gym
confused.
together.
This is a great picture, though. It's cool to have
I'll put it on a shirt. I'll make money from it for sure
that.
one day. But let me just earn it. I got to earn it first. I got to get to the Olympia.
So you're gonna be training with Dorian through this prep as well?
Yeah,
You're
the whole
doing
way.
are you doing like the whole hit style? You're doing the heavy duty, like one set?
I think too many people when they try something new, they try it for a little bit and then they go back to doing their own thing. So I just kind of told myself I'm going to do exactly what he's saying. I'm doing some things on my own because in the beginning I got here I'm like I'm going to do whatever this guy says. And then he had me training like 3 times a week,
That's what I was
sometimes
wondering
four
too.
times. And I'm like pulling my hair out, I'm losing it. And I in the beginning I'm saying I'm going to do it 100% how he told me to do it. And then I realized I'm not training glutes. I'm not training adductors. I'm not training. There's a lot of muscles that we get judged now in bodybuilding that are so crucial that these old guys can argue all they want. They just didn't get judged on it. They did their they did their back poses with their butts soft. They didn't flex them. And now I can lose a show because of how many lines are in my butt, and it doesn't matter the rest of my body. I think it's extremely opposite. I think we could have found somewhere in the middle,
Yeah.
but regardless, it doesn't mean that I can say that I'm getting enough glute exercises from 3 quad exercises.
Now let me ask you this. So do you have Dorian on those days? Is he like fucking yelling at you where you're doing like a table pull through for your butt? No?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just doing hip thrusts while he's standing on the bar. No,
Uh,
no, I do them on the days I'm not with him. So we train we train Monday back. No, I'm sorry. We do Monday chest, and then we do legs Tuesday. and then I take a day off on Wednesday, and then we'll do back on Thursday or Friday, depending on how dead I am. And then that's it. So I can't Friday, Saturday, Sunday do nothing. So
Yeah.
now what I'll do is I'll go and I'll use that one Gym 80 equipment that I was telling you, that one back machine. Because we do exactly what I post. That's it. It's the same workout every time. Um, so then I'll do my abductors and adductors. I'll do my glutes. I'm doing lunges. These are just exercises that I know that I need to do that we're not doing. But besides that, the majority I do everything with him.
What are your like calories at right now?
I don't know. I don't actually count calories. I haven't counted calories in a long time.
Yeah.
It can't be nothing. Whatever's from meat.
Yeah. So if you win this first show, are you gonna pack it up and go to Olympia? Or are you gonna hit all these European shows? What's your plan with
No,
that?
no, I would pack it. I would pack it up for sure because I still need to put a little bit more size on my legs and my back. And it would be great to qualify early and then be able to, right? We were just talking about it, right? It's all about okay, you wowed us, now wow us again, And that's the thing with Cedric. Cedric could walk in on his worst day and he's better than all of us. It's like a sculpture. But we now are wanting more. You got to be better, which is great. That's what part of the sport is. But if you can qualify at the Olympia and you show up at the Olympia looking the same, if you look at the history, these guys are in the back callouts. The ones that are winning these shows where nobody showed up. I mean, look at Ross. Ross didn't even get looked at. He didn't even go back.
Yeah, what do
He
you know what happened with that, by the way? Like why didn't he go to the next show?
I was gonna ask him, because we're cool, but you know how it is when sometimes too many people are asking about the same thing, then you become annoying, and I just didn't want to be
Yeah.
that. Where when I see him, I'll ask him because I know him, and if he didn't, it was something serious.
Yeah. I
Not,
was curious.
So, but either
Um,
way, my point is that he mopped the floor with me. That's the worst I've ever looked in my entire career ever.
man, he was
But
peeled. He was
right, that
skinless.
those back shots were
He was
Derek
skin.
esque.
I mean, no one had him beating Tonio really, but going into it, they didn't think he was, no one had Ross in the top three for sure.
Bro, I was talking at the athlete meeting, like, bro, I love your cream of rice.
Yeah, I
To
love the
me, he's
sauces.
just a
Yeah,
flavor. He's a flavor game guy. I didn't even
yeah,
think this guy beat me when they called them two up. I'm like, okay, So either way, but look, he was in the last call up.
yeah.
So if you're telling me that maybe when he won, we won. What did he win in May, June, July, August, September, October, November, 6 months? If he would have came looking a little bit different, I think then they would have had to reward him because he's probably got the most sliced glutes next to Derek at the Olympia. So my point is that I wanna look like a different person again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a couple of the big judges are coming to this show too. I heard maybe either Tyler or Steve are going to be judging those shows, so it's even better to be right in front of them. And then you disappear for July, it's another 6 months, and then you can even come back and wow them again. I'm telling you, the bodybuilding math is they will reward you.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Um, Maybe for like people that don't know your career, let's do like quick recap, right? Like you won your pro debut, New York Pro. Was there a reason you didn't go to Olympia that year in 2017?
Yeah, because I was women, women, bro.
Do you regret
If
that?
I could. Yeah, I only regret it because when I did end up going back, she ended up costing me two Olympias. And when I say she cost me, it's me letting her
Yeah.
cost me. It's all on me. I'm not blaming it on anyone. But when I did the New York Pro, she got stuck outside of the country. So we had not seen each other and it was going to be so long. And I really just wanted to put some size on, shut off the rest of the year. I went out to Australia where she was stuck, finished the visa, have her come back because she was living in the States and then she got stuck when she left. But the problem is after that, when you're doing a long distance relationship now, it just doesn't work. So then there were so many problems back and forth. Now come full circle. Now I'm getting ready for the Chicago. It's the first show I'm doing since New York. And now I'm going against
Rivera, right? Or no, was that
huh?
is that Lockett? Travis Lockett, right? Yeah,
Lockett, right? The Lockett's another 212 guy,
the
another
fucking genetic
guy.
freak though, man. That guy is fucking weird looking, man. And like, what is up with him?
Bro, I still talk about that guy. This guy, I don't even know if he did it on purpose or not. He walked around in the audience, in prejudging, backstage with a pizza, a cheese pizza, just the box open, walking around eating it. Like this fucking guy has such crazy, whatever,
Crazy.
myostatin genes
The only
that
guy
the,
I think really that has that, like, he fucking looks
yeah.
the fibers and everything. Like, I heard he like didn't do shit, you know.
Yeah, and then you watch them train, and it's just like it's okay. It's not like it's some crazy insane training.
That was really
Yeah,
close between you and him. And then you also took a close second to Rivera, who looked crazy.
yeah. Who probably has some of the best legs back then. So it was my point was I'm not just losing to like losing to Ross and Tonio. It's a hard loss because it's not the Mr.
It should
Olympia of
be.
212.
Yeah.
Yeah, losing to Clarita, he's the Mr. Olympia. That's fine. That's okay. I wasn't looking that great at that Legion show either. So either way, that my wife ended up being the reason why. So then come full circle at that Chicago show, I was done after that show. I ended up telling Aceto I'm not even going to do Tampa. I'm not even going to do another show. I just barely made it to that show. I tried to commit suicide. I was going through like crazy depression. And it's so random that when I was living in Chicago, that's why I wanted to do Chicago. I wanted to go back to my hometown, win that show. So of course I run into my old buddies and my old clients when I worked at LA Fitness. And I got this guy into bodybuilding that was like super skinny, didn't do anything. And he ended up buying a skydiving place, and that's his job. So he comes up to me because it was the first time I did a booth for my clothing company too. It was the first time I ever did it. It was at that show. So not only do I lose, I'm going through this depression, and now I have to go sit back out of the booth and be cordial to the people who are now buying my clothes, you know? So that was actually the roughest time. So I remember being not in the best mood, and I just had my head down, and someone came up to me and was like, "What do you weigh?" And I'm like, oh, it's like one of those, what do you bench? Like, Jesus, now's not the time. And I remember being like, I don't know. It was like 270, 275 or something like that. And he's like, you want to jump? And then I look up and I see it's my buddy. And I'm like, holy shit. And then I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. So I jumped out of a plane that next day. And the only reason I was able to even go skydiving, because I'm well over the weight limit, to
That's
jump with
scary.
someone, yeah, is because he ran the place and kind of like did it illegally. And then the guy who was on my back, he must have looked like one of those teddy bears that you have kids on a leash. He was
Yeah.
so small on my back.
They had to put this
And I guess the
absolute
weight,
Vietnamese male on your the smallest person possible.
I stood up, his legs weren't touching the floor. He
That's
looked like my
great.
backpack. And then I jumped, but either way, so when I jumped, I remember going up and thinking, like, man, I'm really fucked up because I don't even care if I die. I remember saying that to myself, me realizing how okay I am with this and not worried. While my best friend, he's so stressed out. He has kids. I have this zoomed in picture of him. He's so stressed out. I made my profile pic for so long. And my other few family members, and they're just like stressed. And I'm just like, whatever happens, happens. But for something happened to me, bro, when I jumped and when I landed, it did something to me. And I don't know what it was, but I called. The only reason I knew that my wife was having an affair is because the wife of the guy that she was having with called me.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah,
Yeah.
y'all
So
ended up becoming pretty close friends, right?
me and her, and she's the reason why. So either way, I jumped and I called her and I was like, man, I don't know. I feel like I have this like feeling again. I feel good, whatever it was. And then she's just like, didn't you say there was, because she knows nothing about bodybuilding, she's just like a mom in Australia. And she's like, didn't you say there was one more show to qualify for the Olympia? And I'm like, yeah, it's just one more and that's it. Because Tampa was the last one that, for a couple years, it was the last one to qualify. Now you can qualify up to like a week before. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's like, you should do it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I called the CETA. We did it. And yeah, because we got second, we just got enough to qualify. And I went back to the Olympia, but
God,
I'm
that was such a
still,
good battle, man. You and Alex, that was so close. It was such a good battle. Would you say
it's
that's
the
the toughest
loudest.
one-on-one
Yeah.
that you've had?
Just us two. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for some people that aren't Hispanic, that was when Puerto Rico had just got hit with
No.
that crazy hurricane. So I don't know if it was him, someone there flew in like 200 Puerto Ricans to save them from the hurricane, and then they were at that show. And so
Oh shit.
he's Puerto Rican, so it was kind of like a Puerto Rican versus Cuban thing. If you ask people who are at that show, they'll tell you it's the loudest show they've ever been to. I remember my
I don't doubt
family,
it.
they had their fingers in their ears. It was so loud. I was at the show where Jay beat Ronnie, and that's the loudest crowd I had ever been in. I swear to you, it was louder than that. It was so insane. It was such a good feeling. But then either way, so now I go, but I'm still depressed. I'm still not right. That's for sure. Just because I got this Olympia qualification doesn't mean my problems are gone and my depression is gone. But I wanted to finish it. And then I even said last time I didn't do it because of this bitch. So now you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish it. And I thought it was really cool to take that Olympia medal. I went to Australia, met that baby, that she
Sean won that
had,
year
and
too, right?
yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
backstage when my
Yeah.
best friend, my workout partner, wins the Olympia. Like it all happened for a reason, and it was supposed to happen. But you were asking me about my show, so then I did that. And
And you took some
then
time off you took all of 2019 off, right?
yeah, because I was like, I'm gonna go into the Arnold. I
Dude,
just want to go straight into the
that
Arnold.
was the look right there. You should have. I
I
mean,
know.
people forget that in that 2019, Kuklo and Cedric were 6 and 7 in Olympia back to back, and then you compete in the Arnold a few months later. And really, most people I know, we had you in fourth. We had you ahead of Kuklo, and so it's
Yeah, I
like,
told him too. I told him backstage too. I'm like, you fucking bastard. You know I beat you.
yeah. I mean, most everybody had you for, and you also beat a good Akeem there, and then Akeem takes sixth that year at the Olympia. I mean, that could have been you in sixth that year. If we had been able to qualify with the fucking pandemic and everything.
Yeah, I know. And you put it that way, it's so crazy because you're right. Yeah, so I only lost to two Mr. Olympias, Rami and Dexter, and a three-time Arnold Classic champion at that time. I remember I posted this like funny meme. People have seen where that baby's running around the corner and then it like changes its mind and it runs back. I was like, that's me when I saw the Arnold qualification, the nominees, because it was like Cedric, Rami, Bonac, Dexter. It
It's
was so
stacked.
insane. It was stacked. And you're right. To get fifth next to them, you take away the Mr. Olympias, and I'm maybe winning the Arnold. And then my life goes a completely different way, even with COVID. But what we did is we said, okay, you know what? I talked to Rami. Not that this was going to make me do the show or not. I was always doing it, but I knew for sure Rami wasn't doing it. Dexter wasn't doing it. Kukla wasn't doing it. And
You're
Bonac
talking
wasn't
about
sure.
2022 now, or what is this
No, no,
one?
to do the Arnold Australia, which was a week
Oh,
later.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So then I'm still saying, you know what? This moment with Arnold winning the best poser, people were talking more about me than the winner, and I felt like I won. But I was like, let's go to Australia and win this shit. And then fly to Australia,
Worst country to go
land
to.
there. No. 2 days later, they're like, it's canceled. And I'm like, there's no. I was even messaging Josh Arnowitz, and I was joking. I was like, bro, it's gonna be me and you for this Arnold. Like, how cool is this? This is the guy. When I jumped, it's so funny. I just told you the story. When I jumped off the stage and messed up my heel, Josh carried me because I couldn't
Oh, wow.
walk.
That was a long
Yeah,
time
so
ago.
I even have pictures of downtown Australia. He's got me at his back and literally carried my ass to the car and to the hotel because the car was so far. And now I'm messaging him like we might win the Arnold. So we were just having such a great time. We were so excited just to get canceled. And then I was like, you know what? This is fine because I went to a different part of Australia right before they closed down and they got super strict. So I was in what's called Queensland, which is where people in Australia go for vacation. So it was paradise. It was closed off. I was still able to work out. It was like literally one of the best times of my life. Um, but now coming back, I can't. They closed the border. So then that's why I couldn't hop any of those shows to qualify at the end. And then by the time I got back to San Diego, what am I going to do? Half-ass a prep to try and jump into Olympia? So that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to not do it, and now I'm going to do the next Arnold because I almost won. I could have won that one. So, and that was the Arnold Classic of Nick Walker, and
So you just didn't jump
it's
in that one. Was that,
no, and I
did you do that
did,
one?
I did,
Was that
yeah, I
21
did.
or
I just
22?
uh no, no, you're right. Yeah, it was 2000. No, it's 21 and 22. I did both.
You did 21 and 22?
Yeah, because what it was confusing because remember the one after COVID, they had it in September.
Oh,
You
yeah, that's right.
remember it
Yeah,
wasn't March.
yeah.
So And that Arnold, man, it was really rough for me too, because I remember seeing the list and I was like, holy shit, except for Bonock, I think we could beat everybody. And I remember telling Aceto, I was like, man, I'm gonna fucking kill it for this one. And we did. And something in my head when I saw that Bonock didn't couldn't get a visa or something. It was whenever they announced that Bonock wasn't coming, I was like, that's it. It's just me, Ian, Kuklo, and Nick. Like, we got this. And I must have got back into my uh I'm too small head and tried to fill out too much. And this is something that I've learned with bodybuilding. And I try and explain to people that you can get into bodybuilding and this is the diet you use when you peak, right? Now you've gained 50 pounds of muscle. It's not the same anymore. It's not the same equation. And that's what I didn't know in bodybuilding. I thought if I always kill myself and then have a couple of muffins before I go on stage, a little bit of wine or pre-workout, whatever it is, whatever everyone's little thing is, you're going to be fine. But no, as you get older, you obviously start to digest gluten different. And that show is when I learned I can no longer do muffins or cookies or any of those before a show because it bloated my stomach so bad that yeah, I was looking so good for that Arnold and then ended up getting 6 because I just was a slop. It was just a mess. I was huge.
Big. And then we had the Legion, right? And then
Right.
and then
And then
last year you
Clarita.
just did a cow. Was that wasn't just a cow last year?
Yeah, because after that, after I lost to a 212 guy, even though he's the Mr. Olympia, I told myself, like, something's got to change. I got to just get away and just do just bodybuilding, not quit, not make excuses, just go somewhere and do it even harder. And then Dubai was really good. Unfortunately, that accident, it just derailed so much. But yeah, looking back at my career, people want to tell me I'm a failure. I'm only a failure because the expectations are really high. Because I've
Do you
only
feel
placed in
like
the top. Well, I've
do you
only
feel like
placed in the
people
top three. I've only placed in the top three of every show I've ever done, except the Arnold. That's not a failure. The problem is that I want better, and everyone else wants better for me. So it seems like, he
well, they've seen
sucks.
flashes of it too. That's the thing. If you don't show them that, they don't have expectations. Do you feel like at this point people are starting to write you off at all, or do you think they're still just
Oh yeah,
they could?
I'm completely written off. Absolutely.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
I think
yeah.
a lot of people in the know don't write you off. I mean, I think most people would probably have you as top 10 in the world. You're Arnold, the 2020 Arnold. It's just a matter of getting it out there, right? Like actually making it happen. Because I don't think anyone would expect you to come to all in and not be in top 10. I don't think. But
Yeah, but honestly, I kind of like it, and that's what I was telling that guy AJ. I don't know if you follow him, but I was saying
mm.
I would actually prefer people just not to post me. I think it would be great for me just to be forgotten, and
Are
I
you making a
know
conscious effort to do that right now? Like, because you seem a lot less out there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely not posting anything. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because even Neil wanted to post a picture. We took like the quintessential Joe Weider Arnold picture of me and Dorian, with a couple progress pictures. The one where he's like tweaking his
Yeah,
arm,
yeah.
and they wanted to post it, and I just don't want to because I'm gonna get nothing out of it. So and I would like to just I really would like to disappear because imagine seeing yourself in the mirror and you're looking at yourself and you really could beat guys because nowadays you can't believe people. Just because I posted a picture of what I look like in Dubai, it doesn't mean that that's real anymore. And that, unfortunately, that's the sad part. You have filters and fucking AI, and there's just so much. And a lot of these people are running their whole careers off of looking good, posting a bunch of pictures, but really they don't even look like that. So my point is, I understand that people don't believe that maybe I didn't look good before I went to jail in Dubai. But imagine you do, and you know that I
Everybody
don't
was talking
party.
about you. Yeah, you look nuts.
I don't party. I don't fuck up. Now I'm like completely got rid of every toxic distraction in my life. I've, you know, moved to
That,
another country. So
that's
I know what I look like, and when people are just like, "Oh, he's done," because if you look at me at that cow show, I would say I'm done too, because you took a year off and then you came back and you looked almost the same, if not a little bit worse. I've seen people that are getting a little bit older. I use Max Charles as an example because he's not going to get offended because he's a regular person. he was killing that Tampa show. He was doing really well. I mean, his shape was so insane when he was at his peak, right? And now,
Fucking crazy.
yeah, insane, right? And he might win the Masters Olympia or something like that, but he's never gonna win the Olympia. He's never gonna win the Arnold, and he's still gonna keep competing. And so someone like him he's past his best days, and he's still gonna enter a show. So now me watching him, I know he works hard. I know he kills it. He's got a good woman. He's got a good life out on the East Coast, but his body's not reacting anymore. It's just what happens when you do so many shows. You see it with guys; their skin starts to change as you get older. If you do so much drastic off season and so much drastic changing back and forth, that's what ages you. People need to understand in bodybuilding, we have this how old are you mentality, because we have this like past 40, you're going to start to this or that. Really, I believe it's actually just the back and forth in bodybuilding. Being 2% body fat, 10,000 calories a day. That ages you hard,
Yeah.
and things aren't going to be as tight anymore. I know I haven't burned out my body. I know that, thank God, I started with aceto. I'm very lucky that I have not pushed an insane amount of drugs in my life, because that's his thing, is low dosages. And Neil is the same way. So I know that I have plenty of years left in me. The only thing that I am grateful for is that most guys have to convince people that they have more years in them. I don't have to. If they believe in me or not, if people are posting me or not, it's not going to change much. You might lose a couple sponsors here or there, but I'm doing the same thing that I've always been doing. So I know with a new coach, unless it takes Neil a couple shows to figure out my body, that's the only thing still left to be decided. If he's just gonna figure it out right away, or it might take a couple shows, which usually it does. That's the only thing left, because now I have somebody who's now doing that training that I had when I was with Cormier, killing my body. Those last couple of reps are when you really grow and when you change your body. And the best thing about Dorian is, I don't even know if he even realizes that he's doing it. He's really being like a father figure. And there's been plenty of times where I want to do more of take more, do more, lift more. And he's really making a conscious effort to care about my health and my safety.
Nice.
And that's not, and it's weird because he shouldn't, like it's not something that he really care about. So I really am enjoying this, having a Mr. Olympia who's really caring about not only my bodybuilding career, but me as a person. When I grew up trying to beg someone to care and they didn't, and I don't know if people, oh, I know they didn't. Dorian's son wanted to get into bodybuilding a little bit, and that's another person. They did a magazine together too, him and his son. It was a long time ago. And his son ended up not wanting to do it anymore either. And I know that he enjoyed that time when they were training together. He told me that. So it's kind of cool that we're both kind of getting
Yeah.
something that has nothing to do with bodybuilding out of this. So I just feel like I'm winning already. People are just like, oh, it doesn't matter who trains him, he's not gonna win. Like, I live in Spain after living in Dubai, and I get to just smoke weed and hang out with the shadow. Like,
That's what I was gonna ask.
I've already.
Is it easier to smoke weed in Spain too? I know down in San Diego, like everywhere you
Oh
walk,
yeah, it's legal here.
Yeah, yeah, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
you could just go in the dispensaries. It's really cool. They have these, like, I guess they're how it would be in Amsterdam. Like, they're kind of like coffee shop hangouts, but they have like a pool and barbecue. There's like a
Is it
PlayStation
as good
5.
though? Because I remember when I went to Amsterdam, I was like, "This is some dirt weed, y'all. I'm from Cali."
They definitely have top shelf and bottom shelf. I tried the Spain weed when I got here, and it was definitely grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's just one more thing I want to cover if you got a quick couple minutes. I just want to ask a couple of questions about prep for you. Everyone kind of has a little different style of prep, and one thing I was wondering, because it affects me and affects a lot of people. I know Justin Shire had issues, and what's the rookie gay, Carlos Thomas Jr. Do you have any digestive issues when you're prepping, or you've also, I mean, you gained a shit ton of weight even when you're bulking. Like, I've never really heard too much about you. How's your stomach? Do you have any issues with that? And is there anything you do to help?
I have horrible acid reflux. So I've had 3 hernia surgeries that I was born with. They're not from lifting. I just was
Me too.
born. If you look at my old amateur shows, you'll see a little bump. It's kind of like Dennis Wolf had one too. Bukowski had the same thing, that little bump. And I would just like do a pose and then push it in every time. And it was just so mentally frustrating and makes you so insecure. And then you
But
ask people and they're like, oh, I didn't even notice
well,
it.
dude,
But I'm just doing.
I had the inguinal hernias. You know those ones, right?
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah,
so if
yeah.
I would pose and I'm in my fucking trunks and all of a sudden makes me look like I'm fucking packing like what's the 212er bow.
I like that we all know that guy by name.
Right. That wouldn't be a bad thing to be known for. So that could definitely cause some issues. Did it get
Yeah,
better
so I
after you had
have
the surgery?
no, because those I fixed it, it pushed it down and then popped out through another part of my it's probably because it's definitely from having a weak core. I definitely could have probably prevented it, but it pushed it down and then it started to be umbilical started coming through my belly button. So once I fixed that there, it was better, but I still have the same acid reflux. So I have it all year. I take medication, like a Prilosec, not a medication. It's
Yeah.
just over the counter. So that helps. But the problem is that once you start dropping water for a show and you're already taking so many orals, you're not taking that stuff anymore. And so that's when my body is just for sure eating its guts up. So my problem is I won't have the reaction like Carlos will have where it changes my body. It just makes where I can't eat.
You don't feel like
And
you
then
hold water or anything around the stomach or
no,
anything?
no, I just flatten out because now it's taking me an hour to eat a
Yeah.
meal. And taking an hour to eat a meal while you're prepping is insane because you're starving
Yeah.
and you just have so much acid that it's like sometimes I'm squatting and it's like coming up like throw up.
So that's your only digestive is just the acid reflux, pretty much.
Yeah,
Are
thank
you a
God.
pretty high carb guy on your prep? I mean, I'm assuming
Yeah,
most
yeah,
people
yeah.
know. So what would you
Yeah,
say is like the lowest you go
I
or
said I
actually
didn't count
have?
my calories, but when I did, I was trying to do 10,000 a day. I was
10,000
just
calories?
yeah, I just was so skinny. I was so
Oh my
skinny,
God.
man. Well, what I did is first because I was working at a vitamin shop, they have this stuff called Russian Bear, and it's like 5,000 calories uh shake. But then you get smart and you realize all those calorie shakes and all those weight gainers are all bullshit. So
Yeah.
the amount of calories of good calories I was getting in, nowhere near 10,000. But yeah, I would look up the worst places to eat in America, just so anybody knows. Everyone wants to know the double Whopper has the most calories that you can buy in the States. And I would just go to those places. PF Chang's is one of the highest calories you can go to. Um, the nachos at Outback are 3,000 calories.
Just know the most
So
random little ones.
I have all this pointless knowledge that doesn't do anything because I'm still just calories, right?
So
And what do
during
you
prep, you
do?
never cut super low on the carbs. You always keep those pretty high up there.
No, no, I've gone zero. Oh yeah, for sure. This
I mean,
last
everyone's
Dubai
gone
show,
zero, but is that like what's
yeah.
worked for you, or you do better keeping a little higher, cycling?
Well, now we know it didn't work. I look the worst I ever have, but we also know now too, and I kind of feel bad that Aceto that was his last prep with me because no one could have did anything. The only reason I even looked as good as I did is because I had him. Because you have me stressing, getting out of jail, and then now I can't travel. They put me on a travel ban, and it's so wild because I was just on Flex's podcast saying that the most motivating thing about those Arabs, all of them are going 100% every day, and they don't even know if they can leave. And I was even saying in December, which is 3 months before this happened to me, I could never imagine getting ready for a show 100% and knowing you might not even be able to go. There's
It
no way you're
ruins his
doing
life.
cardio. Yeah, but there's no way you're doing cardio 100%. There's no way that you're going about things 100%. There's no way. And they are. And as soon as I was on that travel ban, I caught myself like, you could do the stairs or you could do the stairs, and those are the differences that make winners. And I wasn't doing them. I really wasn't. And then you get the okay, you can travel. And now I'm scared of these people because they're so fucking corrupt over there that I think they might put another travel ban, because they're just getting it's like $50,000 a US to I had to pay that to travel. So I don't trust those people anymore because I know how corrupt they are and what they do now. So I was just so scared. I was like, we might as well just go. We might as well just leave now. And I should have left, but I don't need to leave and go into a show. Like that was just so stupid. Deep down, I think I knew that it was Tonio, and that was it. Really, that's all I knew. If I knew like going into this New York Pro, Nick's doing it, am I really gonna do it? Like I don't think bodybuilders are gonna ever be honest about shit like that, but I definitely knew I could beat them.
So that's the last thing we'll talk about real quick. If you guys like, it was the New York Pro. Who else do you know is doing it besides Tony and Nick? Is that it right now?
I know it's a good question. I'm doing such
Is
a good job
Quentin?
of,
What's Quentin doing? I would want to fucking
well,
see
he's
that
not,
freak on stage.
I mean, he's future Mr. Olympia, right?
Though that Nigerian genetics, man, we could have like, I mean, if Blessing had his legs together, you could literally have four top 10 Olympians Nigerian.
Yeah, I don't think Blessing from the bag will beat me. I
No,
just don't think
top,
yeah, I just don't
just
think
the
he'll
legs.
fix that. I don't think he'll fix that leg.
No.
But
Do you think
I
Tonio can
feel
beat Nick?
no, I just feel like it's Jay Cutler versus Dexter Jackson. It's
Yeah, I mean,
exactly how it
Tonio has
is.
those Dexter 2000, 2001 vibes where he's, on the cusp of really potentially being a killer, taking out anyone who's a little bit off their game. Last question. Who you mentioned Quentin, like who do you think is going to be like the top upcoming guy that hasn't won a show yet? We got like Quentin, that Mo Buddha looked crazy, you know him, right?
Yeah,
Hani's
no,
guy.
I
Um,
know. You're talking about Mo, right?
yeah,
Yeah, and Mo's been around for a while.
he hasn't
I'm
won yet
curious.
though, right?
No, Mo won a couple shows. He went to the Olympia a
Not
couple
not
times.
Shaban. I'm talking about Muhammad Fuda.
Oh, Fuda's out in Dubai with me.
Yeah. He's
Yeah, he's
fucking
at the
freaky
same
looking.
gym. Yeah. He's nuts.
Got him, Quentin. Gets good Vito, Carlos,
I
Nexzilla.
I think Quentin could be a more cut Samson in a few years, actually. And I feel bodybuilding needs a tall Mr. Olympia. I've been saying this for a long time. I feel like uh, we just need another Cedric that will just translate whatever he did at one show to the Olympia, and then we would have because they're wanting to give it to Samson. They really are. Like they're like, please just come a little bit with some lines in your butt. And I swear to God, we'll
Yeah,
give it to you.
one good line.
I I love and butt heads with Milos sometimes. But I will say he is getting better. No matter what, Samson's getting better. So you have to give respect to that. I just don't know if Milos is going to be the guy to make Samson just stupid shredded because I've been with Milos and I've done some of that protocol, and the amount of insulin, it's just really tough because it might work with Dennis Wolf, it might work with Dennis James. These guys were like straight houses and they were able to somehow be so full with the Flynn, but then somehow still shredded to compete with the condition. And I don't know if it's the Akeem genetic skin, excuse that they want to use in Samson or not. But I just don't think until he switches that he's gonna be, like the Samson that we want. But I would want him as Mr. Olympia. That would be my pick.
So
I think you have to reward guys like Derek we haven't seen a back double like that since Phil,
where do you rank him all time as far as the back double?
Oh,
I got him like fourth, maybe.
yeah, see, it's tough because it's like baseball. So what year up to what year are you counting it at?
If you put him
Because
on stage today, top four of all time. I mean, you got
but I'm
Ronnie
saying
and
but I'm saying
Bill.
it's tough because it's like saying how many home runs did they hit before steroids? So you're
Yeah, just
comparing.
modern era. Yeah,
Oh,
like
modern era. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. No, easily.
yeah,
Yeah, because like what would Franco look like with a diazide?
yeah.
Like what would it's just so tough to look at these guys back then. But Kai's back double is better than Derek's.
That's pretty
It's
good. I,
you can pick Kai up from his lower lats. You could literally hook those lats. I've never seen anything like that, still to this day.
when he's in shape though, but I mean, when
Yeah,
those
yeah.
two times he's been in shape,
Old
you can see the lax striations. You don't see those a
old
lot.
Kai. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The dirty Diana
is the
Kai
best.
for sure. Yeah. But no, you're right. It's just glutes, hamstrings, easily probably some of the best ever.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what it looks like next year. It's gonna be nuts, that back double. I
No.
appreciate it, man. We've been going on a little bit. Definitely would like to get you on and just go over some bullshit since we're both kind of fans of the sport. There's some things we can kind of
Yeah, no,
wax
if you ever
upon
want
on.
to, if you ever want to get together and kind of talk about a show or something, something that's not really like, I like doing shows, honestly, that aren't about me. I know we have
Yeah,
to do the first one initially, and
yeah,
you want people to who maybe don't know me to know about me. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate that you're doing that with other bodybuilders too, because that's something I don't have to worry about is getting my name out. But a lot of guys aren't known unless somebody's making them known, unfortunately. So
yeah. And then, oh, so real quick, since it is, in a week, what's your Arnold predictions real fast? Just top five, maybe.
I have Samson beating Hottie.
Me too.
I do, because people want to say that him walking off will have nothing to do with it. I don't think the bodybuilding world is how it was back in the day, where it was very, very spiteful and vengeful. I don't think that it's going to be where they're just writing Hottie off. I just think he's got his shoulders that are already been a problem. His one leg is way bigger than the other, and we saw we saw him lose to a guy who he could have won already. He could have beat Derek if they had put him as the winner. Nobody would have been upset. Nobody would have lost their shit. So now you have him coming in after really having kind of a bad attitude. It's really great that he's hopping back in another show. It really shows that him and Hani are like putting that shit behind them. But the quads on Samson, he should win the front shots, where I thought Hottie
Oh, yeah.
was winning the front shots against Derek. So I think the only shots that Hottie would beat Samson in is the back.
Probably ab and thighs. You don't think?
Yeah, his abs and thighs is really good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyone who's not doing a vacuum is a great abs and thighs. I don't know how we're getting away with that shit.
yeah,
When did that? That's he's the first Mr. Olympia to ever not hit an abs and thighs shot before.
yeah. Well, I mean, Tyler came out and said it was okay, so he's like, all right, I'm just gonna pull this the
Mhm.
whole time. And then so you got top two pretty clear. Who do you got as third?
Um, just because I know, talking with Neil, his game
Brando.
plan for Raphael, because it's so true, man. Like sometimes I would be ready days before a show, and so would Raphael. You're just waiting around, and it's good. It's good to be ready a couple days out,
Oh, you guys
but
both
just
switched from Aceto, huh? I didn't just
it's so
put that
crazy,
together.
man.
Yeah,
Like the same exact time. I actually called him to ask him his advice on it. I called a couple people about that were with Neil to get their opinion, and it seemed exactly this perfect fit. But that's the problem, is that yeah, you want to be a little bit early, and then that way you can kind of coast and land the plane. But when you're like 2 3 weeks out and you're not shredded to the bone, people are like already writing him off, like, oh, he sucks. And then now today, it's like, oh, well, he's starting to look good. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot that that's the process. So I'm gonna put Rafa in third, and then I'll put Hollensheed in fourth. I
you
think
got
it's
rounded
two
out.
people. Well, because it was what I said. Remember, it's all about the shock in bodybuilding, and you have two people with two new coaches, or with two coaches. So no matter what, their body's going to look like a new body. It's going to be like Jay going from Aceto to Hani. He looked like he had a different structure. His abs were better. Like it's sometimes you can just go with someone different. They use different water manipulation techniques, and it can change the way you look. And that's what I'm hoping is going to happen to me, because Rafa's going to be fuller with the same waistline. And then Hollensheed, I think, is going to be still with more shape, not so kind of flattened out. And I think they're both going to stick out big time. I'm
The
rooting
only
for Justin.
yeah.
Huh? Yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
rooting for
keep
Justin
looking.
just because, yeah, I mean, he's definitely got some of the best back doubles in the sport. And I know, and this is the part about it, and this is why it's good that you have these shows, because if we were watching a basketball player and we're like, oh, he sucks, he missed that shot. But you knew, like, during that time they got injured, tore their Achilles, did this, lost their family member, and then now they're just about to win it again. When they miss the shot, you're more like rooting for them to make it, rather than let's see if he makes it.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, once you start knowing these guys personally, you can't not root for him, and you cannot root for, especially a father with a ton of kids who's, killing it. So I know Justin lost his sponsor, switched sponsors, a bunch of going on in his personal life, and he's still hopping in the Arnold. He's such a beast, bro.
Pulling it together too last night. Yeah. So do you have him in fifth, or who do you got in that fifth spot?
Well, who else is there? I've done such a
You got
good job of not.
Horse. Antoine's looking
Oh,
crazy. Antoine looks
no.
amazing right
I
now.
forgot. I forgot about Horst. No, I forgot. Yeah. So it's gonna be him and Holland, I think, battling.
Yeah. I love
Mhm.
James so much. He's one of my favorite people. I've been a fan of his since before he turned pro, but I think he's got like mental issues when it comes to peaking and getting that show. And that's my only fear. I'm worried he's gonna kind of lose his shit, man, and then it's not gonna come together. So I got Samson winning, Audie second, Brandell third. I think Brandell is gonna be a clear third too. Uh, and then I think Antoine's gonna surprise a lot of people. He's looking fucking sick right now. He just put it together like last minute. He talked about how he's off of everything and he just pulled a LeBron and he only lost like 10 pounds this prep and he's been growing into it. And then I think we'll see Forrest in there, that fifth spot. It'll be cool. It'll be a good show. I wish Andrew Jack, he needs a time off, but it would have been great to see him in there at like his best potential in Nextzilla too.
Yeah, because right then they're right there. They're just battling in the top three, right? Then they just
Yeah.
bring out just the three. My question is are they going to bring two out, three?
It's up to
You
Brandell.
know,
I see it being a 2 or 3 person. If Brandell's really made these improvements, I could see him getting a look at with them, just to make it in there. But if not, it could very easily be those two.
yeah, I feel like because he's not famous outside of Brazil, they're not
But
going
he's
to
got
care
that look
until.
they love. They're gonna love his
Oh, I
look.
mean, absolutely. He looks like an Arnold Classic champion. I
Yeah,
just know that when they do there should be a name for it. What is it? The encore, whatever, whenever they just bring
yeah,
just two or the two or the three people, usually when they do that, it's obviously the first two. And then if they bring a third or fourth in, it's because that person is so popular that they want to throw them in so they can at least get looked at. They're gonna throw a bad Rami in there because no matter what, you want to see what he's
yeah.
gonna get looked like, or Brandon. Brandon's always gonna be thrown in there. My point is I hope they give Rafa the respect. I just don't know how much pull Arnold actually has at the shows anymore. He pretends
Yeah.
like he does, but I don't think he does.
I think we should get Lonnie back too. That's the last thing. I love me some Lonnie Tepper in scene over Bob. I can't fucking stand Bob.
Yeah, I've been saying it for so long. Even like Sid from RX, he's another person who's a super
Yeah,
fan. As long as you're just a super fan, you're gonna commentate perfectly because you're not gonna have this like scripted you don't know what to say during times where you have to drag out, because the problems happen in the shows all the time. And if you talk to Bob, he'll tell you all the time, like so many times he's creating distractions while there's a mess going on backstage. So
yeah,
there's a lot that they do, but Lonnie one, I told him I need a nickname. What the fuck?
yep.
Like, I never even got a nickname. And two, no one's really getting any kind of good nicknames anymore because he's not doing them
Yeah.
anymore.
I love
And
Lonnie.
yeah, those also too the nostalgia of hearing his voice at that show. I know because when I did the Arnold and it was Tony Doherty, and then he says my name, Sergio Oliver. I was like, this is my first time. I've been driving to the Arnold since I was 16 years old myself from Chicago, and I finally get announced on the show, and it's Sergio Oliver Twist. Like, what is that? We're just we're
That's
just
funny.
making up shit
Is Fibo better than the Arnold now? Like way better? I really
for
want to look at
Expo,
Fibo.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
because
Expo, but
Arnold
not
Expo kind of went down last time I was there. I did not like it.
the Arnold Expo is always going to be my favorite because you have the other events.
Yeah,
I'm just such a fan of athleticism that I'll watch the fencing sometimes. I'll sit down and watch things that I'm never gonna ever see. But you know what I want to watch the most is when I'm at shows, and people could do this too when they go to the Arnold. Watch the families of these people because
yeah.
you're getting a glimpse of your own life, but in their sport. You see people at even the pole dancing. They have like their coaches, and then they have their
Dude,
family.
I was trying to check out the pole dance, and then you gotta look at the schedule because I went in there and it was this fucking dude. I was like, not trying to see the guy. I was like, all right, I'll come back. Uh,
But
oh man, thank you
it's
so
cool.
much.
Yeah, it's cool to see all the people.
I appreciate it so much, dude, for giving your time. Yeah, let's do this again if that's cool.
Yeah, let's do a recap on the Arnold. Yeah.
Nice. Do you have any timeline getting back to the States?
Well, I'm gonna stay here for at least another year.
Oh, awesome. Is your girl? You have a girl? You out there?
Yeah. She moved here. Yeah, she moved here with me.
Nice.
Yeah, I actually met her in Dubai. So if this relationship works out, then Dubai wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to me.
It'll be worth it. All that bullshit. Are you looking for any kids in the future at all?
Yeah, no, it's something that's very important to me. I'd actually rather be a father than Mr. Olympia. It's very important to me.
The best thing in
Uh,
the world, man. It really is. Yeah.
I know. See, it's tough because I'm one of those guys that aren't gonna like accidentally have a kid. I have to
You'll do
literally.
everything you wish your dad had done. You'd be
I
you'd have
know.
known with
I'm like forcing him into bodybuilding.
it. Go the opposite. Well, awesome, man. Thank you so much. This was great. I'll reach out to you once it's up again, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, bro.
All right, thanks. Have a good one. Good luck.
Later.